just what happened there with Blake? What was the explanation that you received?
Well, there had already been an unsportsmanlike conduct that was issued when both catchers were talking to each other during Janik's at bat, and then Blake hit the home run, and as he crossed home plate, I don't know what he said, but he was clearly talking to the catcher about the home run or telling him about it, which he's a smart enough guy. He can see where the ball landed. There's no need to do that. So I don't necessarily agree with Blake's approach or some of our other guys' approach in certain situations, how they handled it. That was our main point of the conversation out there about how to handle tension like that. But I also don't agree with how we got to that whole spot. It's not necessary. So I don't, we'll come out of today being the bad guys, and maybe something gets posted or you hear Blake Burke got thrown out. He's a bad guy, but this is for about 6 years now. I used to coach pitchers. We never had, I don't remember back then anybody throwing baseball at 90-mile-an-hour objects at guys when they're not looking at it. But it started about 6 years ago. Our guys are guilty of doing it. I'm not calling out their guy. He's doing what he's got to do, and we saw his video last night. He's going to be really good. He's already good as a young sophomore, so I'm not calling him out. But I don't get that whole trend. I might as well be honest too. I'll be the bad guy. I'm not a rule maker, and I'm not smart enough to, and I've been doing it long enough. They should rely on the older guys in the conference that know that stuff. But I think before bat flips, let's worry about. I wouldn't want Ben Joyce throwing a baseball at me when I'm not looking at it. That's not good for anybody. One kid gets hit in the face, kind of like the Evansville kid did when I was back in college, and maybe somebody will pay attention to it. But it just doesn't make sense to me. And there's going to be a time, we've been fortunate to be playing good enough baseball. We're not the best team in the country, so there'll be a time we lose a game. And I hope it's because we're not as good as we need to be that day, or the other team just beat us, which, again, that can happen every day at the park, and it'll happen at some point. But I'd rather it be that than cat and mouse. If we're not good enough to hit a guy, we're not good enough to hit a guy. But there's statistic numbers, off the stretch and off the windup that kind of show what's going on right there. So I don't think we needed to get to that point, which I think is fair to say.
What do you like about the order of Combs to Snead? Second time this week that you won that.
Yeah, really just two guys that, I think need to pitch for us and kind of build up their pitch count. Combs would have done the same thing Snead did, is kind of build up his pitch count where he could start if he needed to, or long relief, or just kind of have the trips built in and the amount of pitches built in to go for a while. And Combs got cut short on his end of the deal because he was a little sore in January and February. So he's a little behind Snead, but I think Snead's also thrown the ball so well the last couple of times out, it's kind of hard to take it out of his hand. But I think just both those guys are good. I'm not smart enough to know kind of what's different about each pitch. I don't think it's so much a compliment thing. It's just both guys are very talented. They'll both get an opportunity in pro ball when the time is right to show what they can do. And until then, we're blessed to have them on our team.
What is it you like specifically about using Nate out of the bullpen?
You don't know when there's going to be a swing moment in a game, where it's either a tie game, and again, the game's kind of in jeopardy like it was against Oklahoma when we played them, or your starter's out of pitches and you're down a little bit or just up, or the big hitter with tying run at second base. And when those moments come up, he's the type of guy we would like to have available and ready to pitch. And same old song and dance. I'm sure he would love to throw the first inning too, but that's a pretty sweet feeling to be out there and throw that last out. That was his last hitter. We probably went 5 to 10 pitches further than we wanted to with him, just off script. But that would have been a tough conversation with him, with you all, with the fans, if we would have taken him out. But that was his last hitter right there, and huge confidence builder to be able to finish a game like that, because their lineup 1 through 9 is, the 8 and 9 to me looked as good as anybody. They ended up flipping, Brad to the leadoff spot. But bottom line is a really complete lineup, and today was a feisty day. And then to beat a really good team 3 days in a row, you got to execute really well. So for him to finish a game like today should be the biggest confidence builder he's had in his college career.
Tony, maybe obviously you said you didn't love the way some of the tension was handled, but to get that tension, particularly after a day where it's 24-1, a good thing in some ways to kind of get this dry run before you go into SEC play, have a game like this again?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be tension, whether it's not, intense environments on the road as every single park in our SEC, or, back and forth with the other team for whatever reason. It's because both teams want to win. And I think our guys run into guys in the parking lot or summer ball. They'll chat about it and be cordial about it. But, when the game starts, both teams are trying to win, so different stuff happens. So, yeah, I think you got to see what it looks like and be prepared. And it's our job as coaches to correct guys. But I'd rather the fire be burning a little too hot and calm that down than guys not care or show up to the park thinking they knew yesterday was a little bit of crazy weather, crazy set of circumstances. The guys off the bench played really well, but they knew they'd be in for a dogfight today. I just think, with kind of how things started, it kind of lit a match. And I would say, like I said, how we got there is a debate to have, or I don't even know if I've already said too much, but I think, the way guys kind of handled a few situations needs to be corrected.
In your experience, how much can you tell this time of year before conference play starts? And have you seen pretty much exactly what you would have wanted to see from your guys so far?
Well, this weekend helps. I think, it doesn't matter in our sport more than any Power 5. Anybody can beat anybody if somebody's got a pitcher on that day, or any kind of set of circumstances you can imagine. They can pop up in a game and you can either win or lose. But when you play a Power 5 team, big school, good recruiting area, they've got a lot of good resources, they've got tradition. That team across the dugout is the type of team that we're going to see week in and week out. And now when you go on the road, like I said, it's a volatile environment. We were fortunate enough to be at home this weekend, which really helped us in some instances. I thought today was going to be a game where it was going to come down to last at bat. We'd be fortunate enough to be at home, but I think this gives us as good of a look, but you don't really know till you start. But it's just baseball. It'll be the same deal when we do start conference. And of course, we got Tuesday's game before that, but it's just baseball. And, it only helps the more different set of circumstances you have leading up to it. And I think for right now, we have a good enough team to compete in our league. But all that will do is get you that quote right there if you want to print it. If it's not worth much more.
How important was that Inslee homer, both from a team perspective in this game and then for an individual perspective for him?
Well, he just walked in the room, so I got to say it was really important. But it was big. I mean, we had, 3 guys, Burke included, and Robin stayed to the ball just well enough or long enough to get it to where that they needed that extra inch, all 3 of them, on the bat to do what they did. But I think it sparked the team, and we just needed to score a run, so you don't have that kind of mindset of when we're going to get that first one. And then, it kind of, probably centers him a little bit more than something else, but he was itching to go and took advantage of it.
What did you see from your guys in those at-bats leading up to Robin's blast?
Robin owes them. Now, first of all, Robin texted me at, I think, 9:30 last night and said he was going to bed, confirming that he knew it was daylight savings time. And so I think really he gets the biggest pat on the back, but he needs to pay it forward and pat on the back. I mean, Billy's at-bat is taxing, and the other guys too. It all ties into one. As this fan or media member or somebody like that, you center in on one pitch, but it's usually not just one pitch. It could happen that way. It's usually a compound effort, and I think today, illustrated that more than any. That Hunt gets one, Blake gets one, but really the getting us over the hump and getting the lead that we were able to hold on to was a compound effort of everybody.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tony.